So it's recording.
Hello.
The bouncy things about. Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. There's a new Space Marine Codex on its way. It's up for pre-order right now. So I thought what I would do is get the greatest Space Marine player in the world sitting down to talk about the new Space Marine Codex. He's on the NDA as well. He's read it. He's read it all the way through. He's got Salamanders armies, White Scars armies, Ultramarines armies, Blood Angels armies. He's got Death Watch. Not sure if they count. Grey Knights. He's got lots of armies. Veteran of Combat School. My friend, your friend, everybody's friend. Sultan from Sultan Plays YouTube channel. I say hi, Sultan from Sultan Plays YouTube channel.
Hi, Sultan Plays YouTube channel. Yay.
So we're going to talk about the Codex.
Yes.
And see, the thing is, I've got a few Horus Heresy space. I've got a Space Marine army, which I'm really actually got the Dark Angels. I've got two Space. You've got more than me. So if there's anyone invested in the new Space Marine Codex, it is you. You. And so you've had a good. Let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the bad. Let's talk about some hot picks and stuff like that. Yeah. On opening this hallowed tome, what leapt out at you as some of the good stuff? What can people look forward to?
Well, as ever, the bit that people don't really care about, but I love all the mini photographs, and they look really cool. Okay. You know, when you're a kid and you look through the book for the pictures, that's what I always do to start with a codex. And yeah, that's lovely. It smells good. It's got that standard factory pressed book smell, so you're not going to be disappointed there, unless like a Games Workshop employee farted into the shrink wrap. Possible. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Let's talk about the rules.
Yes, please.
It's simple.
Simple?
Yes. I had to check myself then. Yeah, it's simple in the way they said it was going to be simple, in that you haven't got spread out throughout the book bolter discipline, shock assault, all the way through, and you have to mix and match pages to find all your rules, and then also like your super doctrines like you would have had in ninth.
Yep.
In this, it's literally there are 2 pages for each detachment. And there are, I believe, 7 off the top of my head detachments in the book. So you get Gladius at the beginning, which we all know and love, and that's not changed very much. And then you get all the ones related to other chapters, and then one that's related to like First Company veterans is the thing.
Yeah.
You also get your army rule right up front, which is Oath of Moment, which is just reroll hits.
Yeah. What do we think about that?
I think that there's already a lot of things in this book. I'm already kind of giving some stuff away. There's a lot of stuff that already rerolls to hit on the data sheets. I completely understand it from a gameplay mechanic in a casual setting, because in a casual setting, Oath of Moment is really, really strong. And that's where I like to play, in a casual setting.
The old school Oath of Moment, you mean, is really, really strong.
Sorry, yeah.
Reroll
So the
all hits
reroll
and
all
all
hits.
wounds.
Yeah, it was really strong and could make people feel bad, because you're literally just potentially picking on their favorite unit and deleting it in a turn of shooting with your entire army.
Yep.
You still have the strength of that in that your whole army gets to reroll, but I think they've chosen the less helpful one to the Space Marines. Mm-hmm. Space Marines already hit on 3s, which is pretty good, and a lot of things already get options to like reroll anyway.
Yep.
Like here and there, like the Ballistus Dreadnought comes to mind, still gets that reroll if it's shooting at something above half strength. The Executioner gets a reroll if it's shooting something below half strength,
Yeah.
So it seems better for everybody, but doesn't feel very streamlined. Like maybe there should be more like reroll wounds or stuff in the book to account for the fact that the reroll hits is now the army-wide thing. But it's not like a major issue. I just think if they were going to do it, maybe they should have just made, hey, Space Marines just reroll wound, because they already hit pretty well. The Oath of Moment just means they're really trying to kill it, as opposed to really trying to hit it.
I guess we have to figure out what it comes down to on game day. When you're actually playing on game day and it's down to the wire and someone's got to take that last kick to score the field goal that'll win the game, whether there's going to be more moments like that, because with Oath of Moment on the old school way, it was more of a rout. There was no last minute field goals to win the game. It was powerful.
Yes. I think it's a good decision to change it. Like after a lot of thought, I just think maybe they should have kept the wounds and left the hits. Yeah. But that's just me like thinking narratively, what is Oath of Moment? It's them trying to kill something harder. Wounds.
Yeah. So 7 detachments in there. One of them is the OG one, which is Tactical Assault Devastator.
A few things changed, but minor.
And then there's the 6 other ones.
Yes.
Which ones stand out to you?
2 of them particularly stand out, and I'm sure people will be excited about their own chapters, but the Salamanders one, I think it's called like the Firestorm detachment, and the White Scars detachment, which is the speedy detachment. I don't know.
What does the first one do?
So the first one is if you're within 12 inches, you get +1 strength to your weapons.
Okay.
And you also get the assault ability on all your ranged weapons.
Okay, but is that really only cool. Shooting then?
It's only ranged.
Only ranged within 12.
Yeah, so basically, almost to the exact page. I've opened to the Iron Hands. We'll talk about them in a bit. But Firestorm Assault Force. Ranged weapons get assault, and each time you use that weapon within 12 inches, you increase the strength. So it's all built towards being close in. And guess what's 12-inch range? Flamers.
Yeah, but all weapons gain assault.
All weapons gain assault. So the whole thing here is that the Salamanders want to close quickly because they're good in combat in the lore.
Yep.
And they're good with flamers and melters, which are close range. So they've built that in here.
Yeah. It should be worth noting, though, that all weapons gaining assault does suddenly make shooty mobile armies a lot more shooty and mobile, because if you gain assault, you don't lose the other things. A good example is the bolt rifle. It's both heavy and assault. Mm-hmm. So if you stand still, you get the heavy. If you run, you still get assault. But your whole army getting assault, being able to move around and fire all the guns.
A big tank.
Yeah, with your tanks getting stuff out of dodges or zipping forward to steal an objective, because movement wins your games. And it feels to me that is the keyer part of it, and then the +1 strength within 12 is a nice cherry on the cake. That's the way my mind thinks about it. But do you think about it the other way around?
I'm thinking about it entirely from like a lore perspective. They want to use flamers, like
Okay.
That's what that you could tell. That's how they've written it in this scenario. And this is one of the times where it's kind of a lore win. Like, yeah, it's really good for all the other things you've just mentioned, like your big tanks in the backfield being able to basically be in Devastator Doctrine the entire game, advance and shoot.
Yeah.
But yeah, these guys, they just get to run in close and burn stuff. So that's really cool. And every detachment has armor contempt. Should mention that.
Yes.
But all their other stratagems are all built around being stronger, hitting things harder because they're salamanders, and a couple of them are around like having better kit.
Right.
Like their enhancements are all like, hey, I got a better hammer, so I get +3 strength to my hammer. Stuff like that. Adamantine mantle. -1 damage to a character, which is pretty cool. Or if it's a melter weapon, change it to 1. So if you try and melter a salamander away, he's like, nah.
Pretty cool. They do like their artificer stuff. Are there any standout stratagems for you in the retribution?
Yeah, there's one that's I always like +1 to wound because I played OG now Blood Angels, and I always loved +1 to wound. Salamanders get that when they get to shoot or fight. If they're within 6 inches, +1 to wound.
Nice.
1 ZP. Very cool. +1 to wound on ranged weapons is really strong in 6 inches because, again, that's that flamer melter. Stack that with the +1 strength. You've got, strength 5 flamers wounding on potentially 2s if whatever you're hitting. So that's pretty cool. But also in the fight phase, when you've got your Terminators with their power fists at strength 8 or whatever, now wounding +1 to wound. It's pretty cool. So I like stuff like that. Burning Vengeance. If you shoot at a transport, basically people inside get to jump out and shoot back.
Okay.
I don't know. This is cool. I like it. So yeah, lots of cool stuff. You can also give, for 2 CP, it's the only 2 CP one, give torrent weapons devastating wounds.
Oh.
Yeah. Infernus Marines.
That's flamers again. So all flamers are torrent weapons. Torrent weapons being those that auto hit, roll a d6 or whatever the torrent value is, and they just gain devastating wounds.
It's cool.
So if you're putting a multiple flamer templates, what are the name of the Space Marines with the flamey guns now? Infernus Marines. So that'd be very, very good on a unit of Infernus Marines. Does that cap the number of devastating wounds, or is that's
no? But I'm thinking this is obviously written before the changes to the rules, but obviously it's only 1 damage flamers anyway, so it's fine. But if there were any 2 damage flamers, like the Landray Redeemer, they won't spill over anymore.
No.
So it's not as strong as it was.
Yeah, but that means it stands out better on the Infernus squad, right? Because it's all damage 1, so all those 6s to wound, and you could be doing a lot of 6s to wound with a full Infernus squad. So so some nice strats there. Any other standout detachments that you like to look at?
Storm Lance Task Force. It's just old school white scars. Advance and charge, fall back and charge. And that's all I wanted from them. So I'm quite content. They're just in the tactical doctrine and assault doctrine for those parts.
All the time. No fall back and shoot though, right?
No, but there are lots of ways to help them do that. So their stratagems are all geared around giving them assault weapons.
Yep.
Giving them if they already have assault weapons, it becomes sustained hits, so they're just getting more in. There's a really fun one here, or two really fun ones here. One is give them lance for bikes.
Nice.
So they go wheeling in, they get +1 to wound, which is nice because I like modelling my bikers with big glaives. So for me, on a very personal note, like getting +1 to wound with a big stabby spear is cool on the charge.
Yeah, and when you say bikes, that's really only going to affect outriders and ATVs, right?
We're going to come on to that, but yeah, there's some changes to models as well, which I'm not sure are going to be popular. But we're keeping for the positives for the time being.
Okay.
Another 1 CP strat. If you are being shot at and it's a mounted or fly vehicle, subtract 1 from the hit roll.
Okay.
And subtract 1 from the wound roll.
Oh, okay.
That could be like a toughness 9 Storm Raven, -1 to wound.
Yeah, it could be. So cool. Anything? Say that again. Mounted or flying?
Or fly. Yeah. Vehicle.
No one brings flyers
Fly
anymore,
vehicle, which is a flyer, right? And then mounted though is a toughness 5 bike with -1 to wound is pretty tasty.
But flyers are dead. They killed flyers.
Poor flyers.
It's just going to be bikes. But -1 to wound bikes and -1 to hit bikes, that's nice. They can advance and charge. They can fall back and charge. See, everyone automatically...
9.
Yeah. Everyone automatically thinks bikes with that. But there is the 1-2 punch. There's also the other units that can really benefit from falling back and charging, such as Terminators and Blade Guard and things and Gravis, stuff that might have got out of a transport to go wading in and wants to fall back and recommit in your game turn. It's not all about bikes. That's a good one.
Land Raider thing, assault ramp. That rule is you could just get out and charge, right?
Yes.
Does it specifically say normal move, or does it say you can disembark and charge?
So, well, the way the rules are, Sultan, thanks for asking, is you can assault out of any vehicle if that vehicle remains stationary. Mm-hmm. The assault ramp rule is you can disembark after the vehicle moved, and then you can assault. Because you can disembark after vehicles move anyway, but not assault.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So. Well, it doesn't stack with the Land Raider, then. That's what I'm thinking. But it does mean you could get out of a stationary Land Raider, whatever distance, 3 inches, then you move, so 9 inches, and then you advance, so whatever. If you spend 2 CP, you move another 6, and then you charge. And it's like, these guys are quick.
Yeah. And dreadnoughts, for example, they move 8, right? All the big chunky dreadnoughts. So fall back and charge. A dreadnought's tied up with a unit that it doesn't necessarily want to be an assault with, like a unit of bugs or something like that. And you could stay in and use the guns to shoot out at a bigger thing, but then you're still locked up with all the bugs. Having the ability to fall back with that dreadnought, and that is an 8-inch move, and then charge something that you really want to charge, like that tank over there, and rip it apart.
Yeah.
That fall back and charge is a powerful mechanic, which is why it's quite rare in the game at the moment. And having a whole detachment where you're a whole army can do it all the time certainly opens up a lot of different playstyle options for Space Marine players out there.
Yeah, and I'm excited about it because my favourite phase is probably the movement phase. I just like moving my models across the board very quickly.
Yeah.
Those are the two I want to do like a deep dive on, but there are some very cool other ones. The First Company Strike Force, or Task Force, sorry, they advertise that online already.
Yep.
That's very cool. I just like the idea of it's just you can bring other stuff, but all the stratagems are geared towards Stern Guard, Vanguard, Blade Guard. There's a lot of guard, Terminators, stuff like that.
All the First Company. Remind people what it is, even though they shouted about it online.
Yeah, so basically, you can re-roll the wound roll as well.
Nice.
So you get Oath, as it was. So it said for once per battle, you can do that. You can go once per battle, that thing must be deleted.
Yeah.
And this, even though it's First Company based, you can absolutely still bring tanks.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah.
Just make sure they have First Company markings on. All right.
Yeah. If you're bringing that repulsor, it's got to have the First Company markings on, and Blade Guard are getting out of there. We're not having some normal intercessors getting out of there, or Hellblasters. Not some scrubs.
Guys,
yeah, these guys, they've got their gold, silver, and bronze pins. They've done the tours. Okay,
yeah,
they got their facial scars.
Yeah,
they're the kind of guys that you see in a Space Marine squad with their helmets off. You know those guys.
Those guys who aren't afraid of headshots.
Yeah.
And then they're the one, they die. But yeah, overall, detachments I think is a big positive in this book. I mean, I'm thinking about it purely from a lore and casual play perspective. I can't think about it from like any other perspective because I struggle to think like that. Like when people manage to, I'm going to use the word exploits. I don't mean it offensively, but if someone does manage to exploit it in such a way that makes it really, really strong and kills people at a tournament, kills armies at a tournament, I can't even comprehend that, like how that happens, because I'm not that smart. So I'm just looking at it and going, hey, this is cool.
Well, no, it just comes down to what people want from the game. So some people like to compete at Warhammer 40k and like to win. And so when they're looking through books, they're looking to exploit the codex to the maximum. They're looking to min-max. They're looking to bring the best things they can for their army. And let's face it, they spent a lot of money and a lot of time on their army as well. And they're trying to build the most tuned list they can to win the game. You, being the greatest Space Marine player of all time with 78 different armies, you're looking like, how can I make this force more White Scars-y? How can I make this force act more like Salamanders-y? What do the stratagems say, and what does that detachment say? And with these things in mind, I need to add this unit, I need to add that unit, I want to try and pull this off. The number of times you come around my house and said, hey, I'll put this together because I really want to try this thing out. And 9 times out of 10, I kill it. But the times when you do, we laugh, we smile.
One of us does. Yeah, it's I think for the detachments specifically, from a narrative perspective, are on the money, and it's the right direction.
Okay.
As a result of this, I am looking forward to the follow-up books for the other chapters. Okay. I imagine there'll be 2 or 3 detachments, probably not 6 or 7, but like 2 or 3 detachments for like Deathwing or whatever.
That does remind me, because Games Workshop have said, and it says in this book as well, this Space Marine book you can run as any chapter. So if you have Blood Angels or Space Wolves or Black Templars, you can use this book too. But if you have Blood Angels or Space Wolves or Black Templars, you're going to have this book and a chunk of other detachments when those books finally drop. Because inside this book, there's no art for those chapters. There is art for all the Crimson Fists, all the OG ones that used to come in the Space Marine book, like Salamanders, Imperial Fists, Crimson Fists, they're all in here. But there's no art for Blood Angels, Space Wolves, or anything like that in there, and they came on different index cards. So, if you want to play with a full gamut of, mind you, here's the thing, because you could have a white Space Marine army all painted white, and in your head canon, it could be a successor chapter of the Blood Angels, and there would be nothing stopping you playing that as a Blood Angels detachment when that book drops out, or a Space Marines detachment with this book here, or even a Space Wolves. Mind you, probably not Space Wolves, you probably need to grow a beard. But,
Yeah, no, they've literally come out and said, all Space Marines know how to fight like this. It's just some chapters are better at it than others in specific areas. Or
specialise in certain ways of war. That's what it was like. The reason why there were originally 18 legions is because some were specialised on certain things. And now in the 41st millennium, some still specialise in the speed, which is the White Scars, or stealthy stuff, which is the Raven Guard, or standing still and getting shot, and having a having a Primarch who's definitely dead called Dawn. You know, those guys.
Yeah. I mean, who would play them? None of these say, like, I'm looking at the White Scars, the Stormlance detachment now. It all says Adeptus Astartes is the keyword. There's no White Scars. Whereas if you look at like Blood Angels, Black Templars, it says Blood Angels, Black Templars. So your Ultramarines will not fight the way Black Templars do. Because Black Templars are completely different.
Yeah. Stormlance detachment stand still, get heavy, right?
Stormlance is the Advance and Charge one.
Oh, that's the Advance and Charge one. What's the one where you stand still, you get all your shots get heavy? What do we think of that?
That's
the Imperial Fist one.
Is it the Imperial Fist one?
Is it?
No, it's not that one.
It's the one.
Yeah, it's Imperial Fist, and if you stay still, get +1 a wound.
What's it called?
Anvil Siege Force.
Anvil Siege Force. I thought it was stay still, all your guns go heavy. I don't have the book
ranged
with
weapons
me.
have heavy.
Yeah, so all your ranged
weapons. You
weapons.
Stand still, but you get heavy. But obviously, you have to stand still to benefit from heavy.
So your entire space. So this is the thing, you see. Space Marines hit on 3s most of the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this means that Space Marines hit. This is a detachment that allows Space Marines to hit on Custodes. Space Marines hit on 2s.
And wound better if they stand still. So if they stand still, they +1 to hit, +1 to wound. So they're leagues and photon.
And +1 to wound is a lot more powerful than +1 to hit.
Yes.
Because going from a 3 to a 2 to hit, or a 4 to a 3 to hit, that's great. But you might be... a strength 6 weapon might wound something on a 5. It wounds a strength toughness 7, toughness 8, toughness 9, toughness 10. It wounds all of these higher toughness things on 5s. But a +1 to wound drops that to a 4, even a toughness 10 with a strength 6 weapon. So +1 to wound is powerful. What do you think about playing that army? Stationary, shooting.
It's definitely leans towards Gravis and slower moving armies. So you're looking at tanks.
Do you think it would do any good? Do you think it would do well? Because movement wins your games. You need to take those objectives.
I think you sacrifice for turn 1 and turn 2 to get on objectives, and then you stand there and blend.
Right. Okay.
So you just stand there and shoot, and you do the whole Imperial Fist things and move forward, take your objective, and then bolt to discipline them to death. So that's what I haven't read too much into this one because this is how I will play my Crimson Fists, but I was so excited about Salamanders and other stuff. But yeah, this is all about being able to redeploy. So they've got like a fallback move here. They can fall back 6 inches if they're within engagement range at the end of the fight phase. So they can fall back and then start shooting again in their next turn is the whole point. It's not in their turn. It's not a move. The ability to double your obsec is there. The stuff around the enhancements is around Gravis mainly, but then a few things about ignoring cover and things like that. So it's all about shooting. This is a very, very shooty one. And I like it. It's also probably built around dreadnoughts, I'm guessing. Stand a couple of longer range dreadnoughts at the back and just +1 to win with a macro plasma. So
that was my thoughts on it. If you're leaning into that detachment, you don't bring a list where everything shoots. You bring a list where you've got dreadnoughts at the back, where you've got a couple of big guns, say spending 1,000 points, half of 2,000 points. If you're playing 2,000 points, spend half of it on some big guns, which you firmly intend to move once, set up some really good firing lanes and never move again, while all the other stuff zips forward, bikes or faster units to try and score, to try and screen, to try and get your secondaries, things like that. I think that one could be a strong one, particularly with Oath of Moment.
+1 to wound when you're rerolling all hits is good. It's good. It's all looking decent. I imagine people who want to hear what the rules are for a few of these. So I'll just quickly canter through the detachment rules. I won't necessarily go in depth on these. But the Iron Hands is once per phase you can reroll 1 hit, 1 wound, or 1 damage roll when you shoot or fight. Yeah. So
it's 1 hit, or 1 wound, or 1 damage roll.
Yeah, but it lets you choose. Right. Yeah. So if you're hitting on 2s with a big repulsor executioner cannon, and then you're wounding on 2s with that big repulsor executioner cannon, and then just go, cool, I rolled a 1 on the damage, I'm going to re-roll that and get
exactly. Or if you're re-rolling all hits anyway, because you're shooting at your Oath of Moment target, then you've got the thing, and it's every unit, and it's also shooting and fight phase, right? It's all the time. So it's free CP re-rolls all the time, which is strong.
Exactly. The Raven Guard one, the Vanguard Spearhead, is mostly built around Phobos, as you would expect. But a few jump packy things, I think, here and there. But basically, it's all about if you're getting shot at, get stealth.
Yeah.
So if you're outside 12 inches, you have stealth, -1 to hit, and benefit of cover, which is fairly strong for like every unit. It's basically getting smokescreen for free on all your vehicles, which is a command point. So if you bring in, this is built around like infiltrators, but if you were to bring like a Land Raider, just have stealth on.
You're going to have a couple of vehicles with free smokescreen, essentially. Double that up with Armor of Contempt. It's a nice, resilient one. It's going to be one of those that is a hit and miss. See, the thing is, the shooty one is really good unless you go up against a full assaulty army, and then you wish that you brought some more assaulty stuff. Stealthy is really good unless you go up against a full assaulty army. That's all up. It's the rock paper scissors side of things, right? There's some lists which will, some playstyles, some armies that will just roll through that kind of detachment.
But if you're playing them because you love them, it's fine.
Then you're playing them because you love them.
It's all fine. It's all good.
It's all fine. Then you're doing it the right way.
Exactly. And those are the detachments, because we've covered all of them now.
Nice.
And they all seem nice and narrative, and I like that they're simple. You just swap everything out.
Should be worth pointing out that when we say this is the Iron Hands one, this is the Raven Guard one, this is Salamanders one, it literally doesn't say anywhere on the detachment that this is for that. They don't say that at all. They're just, you open the Space Marine book and there's a picture at the top and it doesn't say anything about Raven Guard, but you know this is one of the... It's meant for Raven Guard players.
I think it says like each detachment is designed by a chapter, right? It's like, hey, because I think like the Raven Guard one says the Raven Guard specialize in this. Other chapters can do it too.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of what it says. Yeah. And yeah, no, you're right. It doesn't say anything about Raven Guard. It just says this is what the chapters do, but the picture is a Raven Guard.
Yeah.
So it's showing anyone who knows the lore, which, you know, if you've been investing this much time, you probably know it. You show anyone else, okay, cool, that's how the Raven Guard fight, but now I can do it with my Ultramarines too.
The Raven Guard have been doing stealthy stuff for 10,000 years, appearing behind the sofa, all sorts of stuff, stealing the odd socks. They've built many, many different types of detachment, but this particular detachment is so good that even Crimson Fists and Imperial Fists and other chapters use it as well. Exactly. It's got 10,000 years history. It's proven. It's been there. Not 10 years, not 1,000 years, 10,000 years. So
AdMech stamp of approval.
AdMech stamp of approval. So one of the things that people were worried about when it came to the new Space Marine Codex is the lack of flavour. And we've just spoken a lot about flavour. Does this book lack flavour? It seems it doesn't.
It's loaded. I'm going to put this down because it's going to shoot me. The detachments are good. I think I've established that.
Yeah.
A lot of things are gone.
Yeah.
Units, models, weapons, gone. And I'm quite disappointed with that. I understand. I'm not going to get into it here because this is like a full-on 10th edition conversation as opposed to a Space Marine Codex conversation. But I kind of understand why, because they're trying to make it like esportsy and make it easy to play and all that. They have made it easy to play. The core rules are simple enough, and the detachments are simple to swap in and out. Let me have my combi weapons back.
Right.
A combi melter is not the same as a combi flamer.
Right. So
I have some examples.
You're not even just talking about the lack of flavour in the fact that there isn't an Imperial Fist thing or there isn't a thing. There isn't specific. There used to be multiple different psychic powers, for example, and different litanies and different things. You're not even talking about that. You're talking, okay, with what we've got, they have to draw a fine line between accessibility and complexity.
Yes.
There's where do you draw the line? You ask 10 people, you get 10 different answers.
Yeah.
But even more than the complexity that they had sprinkled in the books, you're talking about the data sheets themselves as they exist, like combi weapons. You're talking about stuff like that.
I've basically just accepted,
right,
and I'm fine with this, that there's no psychic tree for every single detachment.
Okay.
Whatever, that's fine. There's no litanies for chaplains. Okay, that's fine. It's all on the data sheet, that's fine. So if all the complexity, or most of the complexity exists on the data sheet, and it's all built, supposedly built around the lore, and the data sheets is where they fall down.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to start with weapon options, I think, because that's an easy one that most people have seen already from the index cards, because they do carry across. I didn't think they were going to bring them back, but I had like a little nugget of hope. But yeah, combi weapons are... they're fine in terms of a profile if you're going to look at them in terms of pure game mechanics. Yeah, sure. Understand why they've done it. But if I'm getting up close to a tank, I want my Stern Guard veteran squad, who I've painted melters.
Yeah.
I've given them melters and painted them and sourced the melter bits to give them because they're salamanders. Yep. I want them to be able to employ those melters against a tank at close range. I don't want them to be able to use their what is now an anti-infantry profile for combi weapons against the tank.
Yep.
Likewise, I've given another salamander stern guard in the past flamers, combi flamers.
Yep.
They don't exist. It's just combi weapon. And it's like, okay, cool, but it's all well and good. I can now shoot you at 24-inch range or whatever it is, but I quite enjoyed rolling d6 because this is a salamander squad and they have flamers.
Yeah.
So the flavour in terms of weapon options there has gone. Another big one, then this one really grinds my gears, is the Thunder Hammer.
Right.
When you think of the most devastating close combat weapon ever employed,
Thunder Hammer.
It's a Thunder Hammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Thunder Hammer.
It's in the name.
Or maybe one of those big chain fists. They're pretty cool. But it's a Thunder Hammer. The whole point is it's literally crackling through armor and detonating on whatever it hits. It's the same profile as a Power Fist and hits worse.
Yeah.
And now with the devastating wound change, because before I could have gone, okay, fine. Well, at least, you know, if he hits them hard enough, it's going through a couple of people, perhaps.
Yeah,
because
it's a big swing.
Yeah. It's not doing that anymore because of the core rule change. So Again, the thought here is I don't care how good it is. I don't mind if it hits on 4s. It's more the thought here, at least make it have 3 damage. It's a Thunderhammer. In the lore, it is the most devastating close combat weapon mankind has invented. Barring a few relics here and there. Why isn't it better? Why is it worse than a Power Fist?
It's a hammer.
More mass produced. Yeah.
It's got thunder coming out of it.
Yeah.
It needs to be powerful.
Yeah.
Salamanders like them as well.
Yeah. Further to that, and we'll get into units specifically in a minute, but Vanguard Veterans are still terrible. They haven't replaced them, which I genuinely thought they were going to update Vanguard Veterans with this book because they made them so. Can I swear on this? Is that all right?
Well,
I don't know where this is going.
I don't know either.
They made them dog turd.
Okay.
So they just have.
Were you going to say shit?
I was. Yeah.
It's a good job you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on when things are in members, I know that I can say whatever I want, but I don't know where this is going. But it's family friendly. But they have heirloom weapons with a strength 5 -1 damage. Fine as a profile goes, sure. They're not going to write home about it. But why are my Vanguard veterans who 4 months ago now all had lightning claws or thunderhammers or specialist weapons that they've earned over hundreds of years of service just all reduced to having a worse version of a power sword?
Yeah.
It doesn't seem right to me, and there doesn't seem to be a reason for that. Again, gameplay-wise, I kind of understand it, but then you have Black Templar's Sword Brethren, who do get a lot of the weapon options.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, if you're doing one but not the other, that's odd. If you did it all across the board, I could live with it, but they've done it.
Yeah, you're right, actually. I never considered that, because Vanguard vets before this edition were super cool. And lots of people had custom built lots of different... I've got a chunk of them. Mm-hmm. And simplified... They're simplified. They've all got the heirloom. Yeah, okay, right, fine. But you're right. The Black Templars thing, they've still got all their special weapons.
Yeah, because
that unit fulfills essentially exactly the same role as a Vanguard veteran unit.
They just don't have jump packs.
No. Well, but Vanguard veterans you can have on foot. So if you had a foot-mounted...
you can't.
What? Tell the people.
Vanguard veterans without jump packs are gone.
They're gone.
Shall I want you to finish your point, but then I will go through everything.
I've finished my point.
Okay. I sent you a big list.
Yeah.
Because I felt it was worth it. Now, some of these were announced on the Warhammer community. If you didn't see that, then this might be news to you. But a lot of these are now out of production. And as it stands, I mean, this is still, when we're discussing this, is pre-release.
Yep.
They're not in Legends either.
They're not in Legends either.
And where there is a replacement, I will mention it. If there isn't a replacement, that's where I have an issue.
So if they're not in Legends, does that mean that there are no data sheets for these that are currently live?
Yeah.
They might appear in Legends at the time of the book release. They might appear in Legends later. But currently, no data sheets.
Yes, and there are further issues with Legends that we could potentially roll into, but I don't know if that's outside the scope. But first one then, Assault Marines. This was one of the ones that was announced. They're gone. I think they're effectively replaced by Assault Intercessors with jump packs / regular Assault Intercessors. Yep. But again, Assault Marines had access to that cool big two-handed Eviscerator.
Yep.
Doesn't exist. That seems like such a win. Like, just chuck a two-handed chainsword in and you're like, cool, you got your Assault Marines back. The Sergeant can't take like lightning claws and stuff. He can take a power sword, which is cool, and he can take a power fist instead of a chainsword. So, it's still kind of there. They're a pretty good 1-for-1. Just some weapon options missing, and I wanted the big Eviscerator. That's all I cared about. One we probably don't care about, Servitors. I'm not too worried about them personally, but I'm sorry if you're a big Servitor fan. Attack bikes are gone, essentially replaced by ATVs. But they basically do a similar role. Bikers are replaced by Outriders, but again, weapon options. Outriders have no weapon options. They have their chainswords and guns, and that's it.
Yep, and that was one of the best things about Bikers. Is the fact that you could give them all melters, or you could give them... Anyway, gone.
All the cool stuff. Firstborn captains, completely gone. The captain in the book is just referred to as captain, and it's only the Primaris options. So there is no captain with... Oh, I might shoot myself here. I think he hasn't got... There's no one with, like, Thunderhammer and Storm Shield.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that. There's no foot-based captain with combi weapons and stuff.
No. The captain in... Well, there's a captain in Terminator armor.
So Captain in Terminator... He's different, he's a different armor mark. I mean, the generic, captain you'd throw in a command squad or whatever.
So generic captain's gone. There's, the captain, there's captain in Phobos, captain in Gravis, captain in Captain.
Firstborn captain is dead.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
There's also the one that I'm really annoyed about, because they have not replaced this one, is Captain on Bike. They got rid of the White Scars Khan on Bike at the start of the edition. He was a Legends option, I believe, and this is where one of my issues with Legends comes in. They just go, okay, Khan on Bike, Legends changed for 10th edition, he's now Captain on Bike, but now they've deleted Captain on Bike. And there's no Outrider Captain in the book. That's not a new model coming.
Well, next Space Marine Codex, you've got to save a couple of things back. We've got the Chaplain on the Bike. Next one, we'll get the Captain on the Bike.
In the book for the next 18 months. Then it's not.
We'll get the Primaris one. He'll be coming eventually. They can't.
Eventually, but that's 18 months.
Look, they started dribbling out the Primaris Space Marines at the start of 8th edition. What's that? 6 years ago. And we're almost at the end of the Primaris launch now. 7 years in. When we hit about year 10, all of the Primaris launch will finally be out.
I'm absolutely fine with them. This is contentious. I don't mind them replacing stuff, and where they lose a bit of flavour, it's a little bit upsetting, but I get it. But this is literally a model that's not going to come out for 2 years, right? Based on my understanding, unless they bring it out with like a codex supplement randomly. This is a model that has no immediate replacement and is no longer in the book.
Yeah, I don't mind them replacing stuff either, so long as the stuff that they've replaced has got rules for legacy players who want to play with them.
Yeah. So stand by, it might be in Legends.
So it's just lazy that those rules aren't around. There is money to be made as well by releasing Codex Firstborn. If they release that with loads of data sheets in, and there's special detachments for Firstborn detachments that have been not helped out by the Indominus Crusade and given all the Primaris love. There's money to be made in their hills as well, but I don't think we'll ever see that.
No,
anyway,
I'll
other stuff.
Rattle through these.
Yes.
Yeah. Command Squad's gone, replaced by Company Heroes, but there's no Apothecary in Company Heroes. I don't personally care about that, but it's just so you know that is slightly different. It's not.
He's a guy that you attach to a squad now, right?
Company Heroes is
the
4
Apothecary.
guys.
Yeah,
the Apothecary is like his own character. Yeah, exactly. So it's not the end of the world. Contemptor Dreadnoughts are gone entirely. They used to be a Codex option, and then you had the Relic Contemptor in Imperial Armor.
Yep.
They don't exist, which is now moved to Legends. Hunters, no one used them, but they're gone. Ironclad Dreadnoughts, they were really cool, and there's no real replacement. So
I've got 3 of them.
Yeah, sorry, Whitney's can't use them. Unless they come out in Legends. I would like to see, to be honest though, if that one's gone, like, give me a big Redemptor version of that with the big siege drill, like,
a Brutalis
big cannon, yeah.
Ironclad would look cool AF.
They just need to release it.
Yeah, up armored.
Again, same with the
Tuft.
Captain. Just release it. And if you ain't going to release it, leave it in the book for another year. It's fine. Land Speeders are gone, ostensibly replaced by Storm Speeders. I get it. Sad to see such an iconic unit go though.
Yeah.
Librarian with Jump Pack, randomly just gone. You got Librarian, which is just the Primaris dude, but Librarian with Jump Pack is gone because there's no Primaris version, even though you could just buy a Jump Pack and stick one on it. But,
You could, yeah.
Firstborn Lieutenants, same as the Captains, gone. Relic Terminator squads, they've kind of just folded them into regular Terminators, but you don't get like the Grenade Carnus or the Reaper Chain Cannon, autocannons and stuff like that. They've just kind of said everybody's a Terminator, which I don't really mind as much, but it is a shame that you lose again that flavour of the special weapons they could carry.
Yes.
Getting to the end now. Scout Bikers, Scout Snipers, gone, no replacement. New Scouts are on the way, which is cool, but they didn't flesh it out. But I think that's somewhere they can go. But again, shame not that anyone's necessarily using them, but the people like yourself, Winters, who enjoyed running Scouts, who are really cool.
I've got 15 Scout Bikers.
Yeah, the Scout. What's the Scout Land Speeder?
Storm Speeder.
Yeah, that's gone too.
I've got 4 of them.
Land Speeder Storm. Yeah, they're gone.
Land Speeder Storm. Yeah.
2 Ultramarines characters for any Ultramarines players. Sergeant Cronus and Sergeant Telion are gone.
Mm-hmm.
The Tank Commander and the Scout. Stalker's gone again. Sister to the Hunter wasn't really used. Firstborn Tech Marine is gone, replaced by the Primaris, but there's no servo harness with all the cool gizmos all over it.
Yep.
Thunderfire cannons are gone, and there's no. I mean, the Fire Strike turret is close, but it doesn't fill the same role.
Yeah.
The Thunderfire cannon was a tremor weapon to slow people down, and also an artillery weapon, whereas the Fire Strike are more direct fire.
I always thought that the Thunderfire cannon was a missed opportunity in the sense that when it came out, I think 6th edition, I expected to see and this is something they could still do, a replacement for the Thunderfire cannon. But there's 2 or 3 versions. Like if you put the one with the tremor shells to slow stuff down, there could be a version with missile racks that is anti-flyer. There could be so you've got a Thunderfire cannon mark whatever, or this one is called a Skyfire cannon, and this one is called and you get this box from Games Workshop, and it can build 1 or 2. And so they won't put the 2 different sprues in there. They'll have one in one box and one in the other, just to annoy people to make it. But yeah, there's a lost opportunity. There's an opportunity there to bring that back.
35 cans were cool, and also 6th edition, in the grand scheme of Warhammer, wasn't that long ago. I thought it was going to be older than that, but it's fine.
6th,
isn't it?
Thunderfire cannon came out in 6th. It was
so
fine.
2012, 2011.
I think something like that. It was lead originally, because I got a lead one and I got a fine cast one. So I've got one of both. I've got the one that I throw at you, and then the one that I delicately put down. You know, the heavy one, that one's lead.
Yeah, there we go. The other one has paint chipping off. The because it's fine. Vanguard vets without jump packs are gone as well, which is just kind of a kick in the teeth because they're still crap. Like, at least if the jump pack ones were all right, I'd be like, okay, but you just kind of got rid of the ones on foot.
I think we had a discussion beforehand, because Stern Guard veterans, their sprue's been updated, their datasheet's been updated, and the new Stern Guard veteran models look cool. I like them.
I want to talk about them in a minute, but yes.
And we were like, they're definitely going to release some Vanguard veterans with this codex, aren't they? Because the Stern Guard are here, so we'll get the Vanguard.
And the first company detachment was announced, and I was like, oh, they're just a Terminators.
Yeah.
But we don't see the 2 that I really wanted. Assault Terminators.
Right.
And Vanguard veterans are the
Where
2
are
they've
they?
gone,
Where are they?
They will come out, but at least make them like all right for the time being.
See, a Terminator with the new models, a Terminator list with Vanguard veterans jumping over them. 2 things. 1 would look really cool, all Firstborn doing all the things. And 2 would be probably a quite strong list, a hammer and anvil type of look.
It would be cool. I do want to quickly lean into, based on the whole thing I said about combi weapons. I don't know if this is endemic of when the sprue was designed, because I know they do things quite far in advance, but they have made a big deal on Warhammer Community saying, hey, you get 2 of every combi weapon in the box.
Right.
So it's like, okay, this combi weapon thing, as an example, the way they've treated the weapons probably isn't going to last forever, because they're probably going to pivot at some point, as they do every edition. They pivot slightly, right?
Maybe. There are more collectors and painters than there are players by a long way. So maybe that's for those people. Maybe. And I don't mind that being the case, but again, that tiny flicker of hope for them to stamp out later down the line, that they might go, hey, we're moving into, this is a long way off, we're moving into 11th edition, and combi weapons are back, why not? Don't worry, we'll get another Space Marine Codex before this edition ends, because everyone else, or Space Marine Codex comes out at the start of the edition, seems really strong at the start, all the other codexes come out, they leapfrog past it, and then they have to reset the game about 18 months, 2 years in, because all the Space Marine players are getting their butts kicked, and they can't have the poster boys getting their butts kicked all the time. So I'm sure we'll see another codex. Mind you, did we get 2 Space Marine Codexes for 9th, I think? I feel like we only got 1.
That was the 1 edition we didn't.
We only got 1
They got
there.
a massive points drop right at the end.
Yeah.
To try and keep them up. But they... Again, this is kind of leaving the scope, but the 9th was in a state by the end where they were like, just go to 10th.
Yeah.
So
here's loads of points. Here's loads of... You could do what you want. Yeah. Let's stay in the scope, Sultan. What did you want to talk about next?
To be honest, that's kind of where I sit. Again, like, I really want to hammer home the positives just before anyone thinks it's a bad book or such. Within 10th edition, and the framework they've set out for that, I think it's a pretty cool book. I really love the detachments. I really, really love the new models. Those I've got. Thank you, Winters. Some Blood Angels Primaris finally with jump packs sat on my desk now, and I just look at them occasionally and go, yes. So they exist now, and I've always been a big fan of Primaris.
To be clear,
purely they're better sculpts.
Sultan's got them because Sultan can paint like the wind, so they will appear on my gaming table way before I could stick them together and paint them, and so you guys get to see them earlier. I mean, I've got heresy stuff sat in front of me right here, because if you love combi weapons, there's a game for you where every single combi weapon costs points. So the point system is still the point system, which is basically an upgraded version of power levels. I haven't actually asked you. I don't think I've ever asked you what you think about that, the new point system. What do you think about the new point system?
I find it really difficult to get around number with the points.
Like 2,000
dead on, right? Yeah, and that it doesn't annoy me. I'm like, every time I do it, and sometimes I get 2,000, I'm like, yes, and then I realise I've not put an enhancement I wanted.
Do you think it's a good or bad thing, the new point system?
I think it's good, but that's because I'm really lazy and I never liked adding up like individual. I didn't like going into like Battle Scribe and putting in every single Lightning Claw twice on 10 Vanguard vets.
Yeah.
But now GW have removed that entire problem by firstly not making them cost anything and also removing Vanguard vets and Lightning Claws. They've kind of killed a bird with a hammer. Not a Thunder Hammer, because the Thunder Hammer wouldn't do it. But yeah.
It would just bounce.
Yeah.
There are some people who really like the list building aspect.
I quite enjoy it. Again, from a narrative thing, I think like, oh, how cool will this look if White Scars, I've got 2 big squads of 6 bikes and then 2 speeders sat behind, and then, what happens if I bring a Storm Talon in, like a little gunship? But it never quite works out that way.
No. Okay.
But I don't mind it.
See, I like it for 40k. I think it fits in with what you're trying to do with 40k, which is Ninth edition wasn't very accessible. They're trying to make the game more accessible. I think this point system is here to stay for a long time. I think this is the future for 40k. Age of Sigma does it like this as well. And if you want to get down into the weeds about how much each weapons cost, how much each individual model cost, then perhaps this isn't the game system for you, because Heresy or Kill Team, or there's many other game systems which add up every single nut and bolt. But in 40k and what they're trying to pitch it for right now, I like it. But I did used to. There were occasions where I sat there in the evening with my tea and my hobnobs, and I had a pen and paper around me, not Battlescribe, and I'd write a list and then write another list, and I'd spend hours sometimes writing lists and trying to squeeze the juice out, and that's gone.
I don't mind it. I do find if anyone is struggling with changes to the game, the big changes, and not necessarily enjoying them, you're not alone. I think the thing that's been getting me through, and this is like might sound like a obscene amount of copium. Just remember the stuff you really do like. I really like the models, and that's why I got into this to begin with. So if I just roll back and then sit painting the new Space Marines, because the new Space Marine sculpts, again, design team killing it, love it. I'll happily sit there and paint the company heroes or some intercessors and a captain and all that kind of good stuff. I got no problem with that. The only time I get like a bit despondent with it is when I go and I transfer this model I've spent ages on to the table and realize, he doesn't have, he'd be very cool with a Thunder Hammer. He's a Blood Angel captain. He needs a Storm Shield and a Thunder Hammer. He doesn't have that. So that's the only time I get despondent.
Well, that's the thing though. It's freeing from a hobbying perspective, isn't it? The new point system.
Yeah, because you could just put all the cool stuff on them.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they've not stripped out. But there's a lot of things where there were more options, like that Firstborn captain with jump pack.
Yeah.
Because you should just have a Firstborn captain, 20 and 9th edition, 25 points, stick a jump pack on, and then give him 10 points for a hammer or whatever, 20 points for a hammer, and then 5 points for a shield, and off he goes. Now, Firstborn captain's gone. You can either have captain with a jump pack and he has a set loadout, maybe an option to change up his fist for a sword or a chainsword, and then the other guy is captain on foot equivalent, like with a jump with nothing.
So bad there, particularly for your hero characters that you want to stand out. You want him having because they even said on their press release, the Smash Captain's back because he's got a jump pack. But he doesn't even come with a Thunder Hammer. The
Smash Captain was Thunder Hammer Storm Shield. Yeah.
Yes, Thunder Hammer Storm Shield, jump pack, that's a Smash Captain. He's not back. So it's sad for things like that, but from a modelling perspective and a hobbying perspective, but it's positive from a hobbying and modelling perspective when it comes to squads and individual models. Yeah. You can put whatever you want on their van braces. You can give them whatever guns you want. You can give them the land. You can tool them up however you want because that unit costs X, and then if you add 3 more, it costs Y, or if you add 5 more, it costs Y, and that's it. So for units, I think it's a bit more freeing. For individual heroes, I think it's a bit more restrictive. So to get by, you think about what got you into the hobby, and it was the models. Is that how you survive with change?
With everything in my life. Think about the models. It's like, it's just focus on what you enjoy about it, and if what you enjoy about it isn't scratching that itch, then maybe it's maybe take a break. It's okay.
Or you can do what I do. What got me through the change is strippers and cocaine. I find that works as well. So, yeah.
I don't endorse that message.
No.
Cocaine, anyway.
But the strippers on the other have
yeah.
And if you can't get a stripper, just shave me a sheep. I'll be fine with that. I think, yeah.
That'll do it.
Is this going for members or is this going on general YouTube? I think it's going on general YouTube. I think it's been a good discussion. You can rant, though. Some things about the book that really grind your gears. What did you think? Were you angry with?
I think I've talked about a chunk. A lot of it is just endemic to 10th edition, how they've treated certain things. So, big one for me is how they've treated certain legends. If they're going to make data sheets that aren't going to be touched for the next 3 years, which is how long edition usually is, why delete things? Like things like Khan on bike, just gone. Hey, it's Captain on bike now, but then they delete Captain on bike. It's like, okay, cool. I had at the start of this edition, I had 2 characters to choose from. I could run a cool White Scars Khan on bike specific to my White Scars army, or I could run a Captain on bike. I only ran one or other for White Scars anyway, because points and things. Now both are gone. Another one is the cool. They removed him from Forge World, but I got for Christmas, literally just the Christmas just gone as well. Well, I say just gone, last year, 2022. I got Braearth Ashmantle, who you and I loved because he was an absolute murder box.
He was a unit.
Yeah, his rules were stupid because it was just silly strong, but it was cool. It's a dreadnought hand built by Vulcan. That's the whole point. He's got 2 flamers and he kicks dicks in. Now they've said, hey, Braearth Ashmantle counts as for legends. All my lights have gone off. Nice. Braearth Ashmantle counts as for legends. Dreadnought. Guess who's not in the book? Dreadnought. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so firstly he's got 2 flamers, and then you've made him a regular dreadnought with an assault cannon instead, and then you've also moved that dreadnought to legends. So how do I know that dreadnought in legends is still going to be there in a year's time? So I'm not asking for permanence as such, but I'm just asking to keep the options that we have if you're going to move them into legends. So little things like that, just a lot of flavour gets slowly stripped out. Yeah. And
Games Workshop are updating the range. Lots of flavour getting stripped out. Lots of models becoming obsolete. And we saw it coming because Primera started 6 years ago. But there's no perfect way to handle it, is it? Making people's models obsolete. There's thousands of pounds next door in Firstborn Marines that I'm not going to be able to field.
There's one way to do it.
What?
Look what
How?
they did with the Terminators and Sternguard. They're the exact
just gave them new
same,
sculpts.
Just bigger. Yeah, they're the exact same. They haven't removed anything. The only thing that's changed is the rules, which could be rewritten at any point.
Yeah.
But the model is still there. It's when the model is removed entirely, unless you can find a way to shoehorn it in. I don't want to use that much brain power, to be honest. But
no. They just reworked them. See, one of the things I was surprised is Tactical Marines and Devastator Marines, they're still in the Codex.
They've lost
so those Firstborn stuff is still in there, but I would advise anyone who's thinking about buying Tactical Marines or Devastator Marines or adding any old school Firstborn stuff to their Space Marine force at this point, don't do it. Stay away, because all the models are getting refreshed, replaced, and you might end up with a chunk of models that you just managed to finish off gloriously painting, and all of a sudden 2 months later a book comes out and your models are no longer defunct. They knew they were doing this. We knew they were doing it. They knew they were taking a risk, but there could be some kind of legacy codex, or there should be some kind of legends things to tidy people over for the meantime. No?
Yeah.
Yes?
No, I agree. I just think, I wonder if someday we'll see something along the lines of Age of Sigmar and the Old World. And we've kind of already got that with 40k and Horus Heresy, right? But will we see things like campaigns and a book set around Badab or something? And then you have, those old Rogue Trader campaigns where you have, hey, here's your old school minis that don't fit in 30k because they're designed for 40k. 30k minis, if you've noticed, don't have purity seals. And they also don't have, I know you've noticed when as I'm talking to the people, but 30k minis don't have purity seals and all the stuff and relics that the 40k guys have, because the 40k guys are worshipping essentially the face of the Emperor, right? They've got all the skulls and everything, whereas the Heresy Marines are just soldiers.
Yeah, they have Oath of Moments, which they might stick on, but they're
some
rare.
chapters, yeah.
The Purity Seal was first invented during the Siege of Terra itself, Sultan.
Ah.
See, the siege, it was under Thing, and there was stuff, and you could imagine towards the end of the siege, 9-month-long siege, that insignia and badges and caps and sergeants and left, it was all a mess. No one knew who was what or how.
Friend
or did
or
it.
foe.
Also, plague weapons, chaos weapons, viral weapons. People got sick. People got there. People were no longer fit to fight, either mentally or physically. So they had the commissariat. It wasn't the commissariat. It was something. There was something they set up. Kingsky was part of it. Right towards the end of the heresy, to check the purity of the people still fighting. And they would check you over,
scanner, yeah.
Scan you down, make sure you've got none of those 3 blisters on one arm, and your head doesn't spin around at 3. And then you'd get a purity seal stamped onto your arm. And by the end of the Siege of Terra, no other symbols, no other markings, no other iconography actually was worth a damn, except for your mark of purity. Those are the only things that they tried to keep hold of and kept them spit clean and kept them prominent. Look, I'm pure, I'm pure. And then, of course, then we have 10,000 years of, look at all of me with all of my seals. And some people going completely, yeah. So that's where it was from.
So,
I do like a bit of lore. So that's it. New Space Marine Codex. There is surprising levels of flexibility and narrative in there, in the detachments. They clearly want you to lean on playing a certain different armies, different ways, and it doesn't matter what color your Space Marines are painted, you can play them in any way you want to.
Yes, I do think we might lose some folks though.
What does matter though is there's some units that are no longer exist. We're going to lose some folks. How many folks are we going to lose, Sultan?
Well, I've seen some people left or took a break based on Horus Heresy stuff going to Legends.
Yeah.
Which for me changed nothing because I still got to play them. But if things are actually gone from this book, which some things will be, Assault Marines and stuff, I don't know if they are going to Legends or not. They haven't really said. If they're actually gone, then I think we would lose at least 10.
At least 10 people. I think you're right.
People, yeah.
We're probably going to lose. See, the other thing that struck me is we can all look back and agree that 8th edition was the most successful launch of any edition for Warhammer 40k. The share price tells you all, and you came in during 8th edition, for example. So many people came
by accident, yeah.
I started playing 40k by accident. Look at me.
I just ended. I'll tell you what it was. Sorry to interrupt your flow. I was delayed by 24 hours on a flight to the Falklands.
Nice.
Because I had to go out there for 4 months. It was my first deployment, and I was a bit nervous.
Yeah.
And I got delayed. I got a text saying, "Hey, because due to weather, we're not flying on this date. We're flying the day after." I was like, "Okay, cool." So I was sat with all my stuff packed.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I've got my iPad. I'll just have a quick look. And for some reason in my head, I was like, I wonder what Space Marines are doing now. And I went to look up how a Space Marine was made again on Lexicanum or something, or Fandom or something. And I was like, I'll look on there. And then I was like, I've forgotten what the models look like. I wonder what they look like. And I went and had a look, and it was all this new Primaris stuff. And I was like, where's the Tactical Marines? And I scrolled and scrolled and scrolled and scrolled, and found Tactical Marines. Oh, they're there. And then I looked at them. I was like, yeah, but found Tactical Marines. That's nice. That's scratched the nostalgia itch. Those new guys look pretty cool. Yeah. It was from there. So I've always been a fan of Primaris, and I came in as they were already a thing, so I didn't have the, oh my god, they're replacing. But it's been long enough now, 6 years. Oh my god, 6 years. And now I'm like, oh my god, they're replacing things.
Now you've been in it long enough that this is the first time you've been hit by that wet fish, and it stings, and it smells stinky. Yeah, one of the successes with 8th edition is that a lot of people came back to the hobby, and 50% of most, so on average, when they do polls and this, that, and the other, and they poll people, what armies do you collect? If you collect anything, half of all gamers have some kind of Space Marines. It's more than half. And loads of these players coming back because they look under their couch or they look in their loft and they find, oh, I've got a bunch of these models. I can add these to the ones that I've got, and now I can play the game and I can go. If they're taking that away from people, then those returning customers might not return. So as well as the 10 people that are going to leave because of these changes, there's going to be 10 more people that don't come back to the game because of these changes. So Games Workshop have at least lost, I think, 20 people because of these changes.
Closing the door on their way out.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. So that's why having some kind of book, in my humble opinion, Firstborn Marines, and sitting on like a vault of them where they continue making rules for them and they wind the stocks down on them for a number of years and actually give people a date. So, okay, this is the first Codex Firstborn. These are the stocks. And when we hit 2025, we're stopping it. You're giving people a long heads up on it, being clear in their intentions. I think that would have gone down better, would have perhaps stopped 10 or 20 people leaving. But they're doing it the way they've done it. Or just doing a straight
one-for-one swap.
Or straight for one swaps.
Yeah. These are new tactical Marines, all right? Okay, sweet. And also we're bringing out intercessors if you want to do just all bolt rifles.
Yeah. Straight one-to-one stops, like, okay, this is my attack bikes and these are my bikes, but in this game I'm playing them as Outriders and ATVs because I haven't got the new models yet, or I never refuse to. But yeah, having some straight one-to-one swaps would work as well.
Yeah, or exactly as they've done with Terminators and Stern Guard, which is probably one of the smartest moves they've done in a while. Just, hey, these Terminators are big. It's like, are they Primaris? It's like, it doesn't matter anymore. Cool. Yeah. Fine. Just do that from the beginning, guys.
In the future,
that whole lore loop you had to jump through.
Yeah, all Space Marines are going to be Primaris, right? Every single Space Marine going through induction, instead of getting 19 implants, it's going to get 22 implants. They're all going to be Primaris.
Primaris is not mentioned in the data sheets once.
No, Primaris is gone. They're just Space Marines.
Tacticus is as a mark of armor, but that's it.
Yeah, well, and Phobos.
Phobos Gravis. That's it. It's just to differentiate them from Phobos Gravis.
Yeah, because some armors can fit in some vehicles or cost more points.
Yes.
Transport capacity going in. So you've got, but that was like that with Firstborn. Like Terminator plate would not be allowed in Rhinos or drop pods.
That's all they've done. Yeah.
So they've done that with the new stuff, but Primaris is no longer a thing. Everyone's a Space Marine.
In the lore section, I did see Primaris every now and again, and they talk about Minus Calgar being arguably the first to do it. But then, as soon as you get to the rules, they don't mention Primaris at all. They just mention marks of armor because they're pivoting to, hey, they're all just Space Marines.
Yeah.
Which arguably is a bit of a slow turnaround, but if they'd just done that from the get-go, hey, these are all Space Marines, but there's Gilliman's back, so he's introducing new squads.
Yeah.
And the new sculpts.
The whole Primaris thing, they didn't need it. They didn't need that lore angle to introduce new stuff. They could have had Belisarius Cool just making loads of new kit and not new Space Marines.
They did it with the Guard. I mean, I think they learned their lesson by that point, right? But they did it with the Imperial Guard. All the new Cadian stuff and the Krieg stuff is slightly taller than the old stuff. Still fits in with the old stuff. It's fine, but they're just better sculpts.
I don't think they should. See, this is where they made a mistake with the Guard. You see, there's so many different regiments. Imagine if they stopped releasing new Cadia stuff and new Catachan stuff. That stuff again phases out over time. They can put a release date, an expiration date on it, like from 2025. We're not going to be making any of this anymore. Our new poster boys are Deathcore of Krieg, and everything comes out in plastic for Deathcore of Krieg. Or two new regiments, or have Deathcore of Krieg along with the Cadian. Instead of reproducing sculpts of Cadians that are a bit taller, keep the sculpts of the Cadians that are a bit shorter and release a whole new regiment. That's what I would have done.
Cool.
Anyway, Dead Air. That sounds like a good... Yeah. So, 2 thumbs up or 2 thumbs down?
1 thumb, 1 half.
Okay.
Is that
one
an option?
thumb up, 1 thumb down.
I'm still going to play Space Marines. I got no big problems there. I am sad that a lot of my models now can't be used.
Yeah.
Especially if some of them have a real, like, it's not so much like the purchase price or stuff I don't care, as I put a lot of time and care into making some of these models the last sort of 5 to 6 years, and now the fact they can't really be used, and they're also not necessarily suitable for heresy, so I can't even like transpose them across to another game system, is sad. And this is the first time we're really seeing that, because throughout 8th and 9th you still had basically all of the old stuff. Maybe a few bits went here and there, I can't remember.
Throughout every edition with the exception of 1 or 2 units, I can think of a unit here or a unit there. With the exception of a unit here or there, they've never done this before. Yeah. This is the first time Games Workshop have said, right, this edition, this codex, all that stuff, all these many units, no longer. You can use them no longer. And I do think it's going to really hurt them in the bottom line. Not straight away, but particularly over the next year, year and a half, 2 years, particularly when we're thinking about people returning to the hobby who might not return, and people getting sick of it and leaving the hobby. It's a decision that they've decided to make. It's just, we knew it was coming, but the way they've... Here we are. It's change, scary. But we're here now, and this is what's here. Do I still love the hobby? Yes, I still love the hobby. Am I still going to play 40k? Yes, I'm still going to play 40k. Am I sad for the most of the 13th? Yes, I'm sad for the most of the 13th. But I've been around enough. I'm old enough and wise enough, and I've been around enough to start saying sentences like, I've been around enough. Yeah. And I've seen all this before, but not to this extreme. And
we'll do a campaign back in time with the 13th. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll do it. If they do come out in Legends, let's say this right now. This isn't necessarily a promise, because winners might say nah. But let's do it. If everything that is gone comes out in a Legends datasheet, let's immediately do a Legends campaign. For the 13th, there we go. I say we send them back. We put them back in the glory days.
Yeah, we do.
Just before the turn of the 41st millennium into the 42nd, before Indomitus, before everything, full Firstborn campaign using those, supposed alleged Legends rules, and then I or another, don't mind, can bring something for them to fight.
The future, scary.
Yes,
I've heard lots of scary things about the future. Have you heard about this AI?
What does the A stand for?
Abominable intelligence. It's going to be horrible, apparently.
What does the I stand for?
Intelligence, abominable intelligence. And then we have the rise of the machine god and the rise of the master of mankind, and we step out across the stars. It's going to be grim, it's going to be dark, and we're finally going to get eaten by Tyranids. Have fun. Anyway.
Elon Musk named one of his kids after Tau Mechanicus or something. So
nice.
Things are already taking a turn.
Hey, I was watching a news thing the other day about there was news clips of the war in Ukraine, and one of the battalions in Ukraine is called the Corn Battalion, and it uses corn as in the blood god, symbol of corn on the thing. I was like,
they just use combat knives.
Yeah, man. Blood for the blood god.
Wow. I was about to say nice, but...
Well, horrible war, horrible, let's stay away from politics, but just the fact that corn was there in a news thing was like, that's cool.
See, this is the kind of problem we are as gamers, right? Just like that. Like I mentioned, the whole thing is Elon Musk names his kids after Warhammer or whatever. The title of that article that I completely glossed over to look at the Warhammer content was his 11th secret child. And I was like, he has a secret kid, but I just glossed over that. I went, Mechanicus. And I was like, and everyone else was too. They're like, he's one of them. And I was like, wait, hold on, secret what?
Yeah. Well,
so on that bombshell,
everyone knows that the 2nd and 11th Primarchs were they never left the Imperial Palace. They were kept in the dungeon. We'll never find out who the 11th secret kid is.
Elon Musk is the Emperor, which is a terrifying thought. Goodbye, winners.
Goodbye, Sultan.
Where's the pause button?
I don't know. I thought